Dr. Rosamund Achelis does not look at the eye sockets. When she lifts a skull, she turns it toward the light and reads the teeth. She is a forensic dental anthropologist at the University of Edinburgh, and her office smells like calcium dust and cold radiator metal. After 23 years, she can read a life from the teeth with a precision that consistently surprises people who haven't watched it done. Age, diet, geographic origin in some cases, and something stranger, a record of stress, written into enamel by the body without its owner ever being consulted. When a child experiences a significant physiological crisis, a week of high fever, a season of near starvation, an illness severe enough to redirect the organism's resources, the body pauses construction of whatever teeth are forming at that moment. It handles the emergency first. When it resumes, the enamel picks up where it left off, but the pause leaves a trace. A shallow horizontal groove called a hypoplastic band, scored into the surface at exactly the developmental layer that was forming during the crisis. Because tooth formation follows a known schedule, Achelis can measure from the groove to the crown and calculate within a few months how old the child was when their body went into crisis. She cannot see the crisis itself, only its mark. This is possible because of something about enamel that has the quality of a riddle. Tooth enamel is the hardest substance the human body produces. 96% mineral, more resistant to decay than bone, essentially impervious to the conditions that dissolve softer tissue. A tooth buried in ordinary soil for 3,000 years can surface with its structure intact, microscopic scratches still visible from the last food its owner chewed. Nothing else in the skeleton endures like this. But enamel has no living cells. Every other bone in the body is maintained by osteocytes, specialized cells that continuously monitor structural integrity, signal for repairs, and recruit mineral to seal hairline fractures before they can widen. Break a bone, and the bone itself begins the work of healing. New tissue bridges the gap. The fracture becomes a scar, and with time, even the scar remodels. Bone is a living document, perpetually revised. Enamel is produced by cells called ameloblasts, which are active only during the years a tooth is forming inside the jaw. When the tooth erupts through the gum and enters the world, the ameloblasts complete their task and die. The enamel is sealed. Whatever wears away from that surface will not be replaced by any biological mechanism. Not partly, not slowly, not at all. Every cup of coffee, every acid, every night of grinding your jaw against things that have no other outlet, each removes a fraction of enamel that is gone for good. What you had at 7 years old was the peak. Everything since has been subtraction. The hardest thing your body makes cannot fix itself. And this, precisely this, is what you extend toward a stranger when you smile. Not skin, not muscle, bone. The mineralized exterior of the one skeletal structure your body keeps above the skin's surface, open to air and temperature, and the quiet, evaluative attention of everyone you have ever tried to seem warm toward. Every other bone you carry lives behind soft tissue, sealed inside the body's interior, doing its work in the dark. Your teeth push through the gum into open air, and they have been there since the moment they erupted. When you open your mouth at someone you want to trust you, the thing you offer them is slowly diminishing mineral. some portion already gone, the rest going by degrees. The smile itself has a history older and stranger than most people assume. In most primate species, baring the teeth is a threat display. The silent, bared teeth signal, a muscular announcement that carries, across species, the meaning, I can cause damage. Chimpanzees use it when cornered or challenged. The expression is not warmth. It is an advertisement of capacity. Somewhere in the long social negotiation of early human tribal life, this display was converted. The aggression signal became a submission signal, then a comfort signal, then the warmest gesture one human can extend to another without physical contact. We took the expression our primate relatives used to advertise the credibility of a threat and turned it into an invitation. We have been so thoroughly shaped by this conversion that smiling when happy is not performance. It is a biological event. But a smile has two components. They do not carry the same weight. The first is the zygomaticus major, the muscle that draws the corners of the mouth up and outward. It is entirely voluntary. You can produce it right now, deliberately, simply by deciding to. This is the component that shows the teeth. This is also the component that approximately $45 billion annually in global cosmetic dentistry is dedicated to improving. The whiteness, the alignment, the symmetry of the surface exposed when this muscle fires. The second is the orbicularis oculi, the ring of muscle surrounding each eye socket. When it contracts, it produces crow's feet at the outer corners, raises the lower eyelid slightly, and compresses the upper cheekbone from below. In 1862, the French neurologist Guillaume Benjamin Duchenne, who spent years passing electrical current through the facial muscles of willing subjects in order to map the muscular architecture of human expression, made a finding he considered remarkable. He could trigger the zygomaticus major reliably with a well-placed electrode. He could not reliably trigger the orbicularis oculi by the same method. The eye muscle, he concluded, fires on genuine emotion or it does not fire. When both muscles engage together, the expression is called a Duchenne smile. When only the mouth fires, only the teeth, only the voluntary component, something in the human brain registers the absence in the first fraction of a second of perception. Not consciously usually. In a faster, older layer of social processing, something files the smile as incomplete. This plays out in ways most people have felt before they had the vocabulary for it. The smile that does not reach the eyes. The photograph where you look happy, but you know you are not. The interview expression that everyone in the room understood was an interview expression, and no one mentioned. The zygomaticus major is a capable performer. The orbicularis oculi is a poor liar. The teeth are attached to the half that can be rehearsed. The signal that registers as genuine warmth is above the cheekbones, in the muscle Duchenne could not reliably reach with a wire. There is a photograph on Achelis's desk, not a skull, not a radiograph. A family portrait found attached to a set of dental records in an archive in Łódź, Poland, in October of 2009. 5 people in formal clothing pressed together in the stiff convention of that era's portrait studios. The year stamped on the paper reverse is 1937. All 5 are smiling. She cannot read anything reliable from the smiles. She can tell you a great deal from the teeth. The oldest child, a girl, by developmental evidence approximately 12 years old, had 2 hypoplastic bands in her upper incisors, one at the developmental layer corresponding to approximately age 5, one at approximately age 9. Each one a period of weeks during which some unnamed crisis had been sufficient to interrupt the body's ordinary construction work. The enamel had registered the first pause, resumed, registered the second, resumed again, and those 2 lines now sat exactly where they had always been, fixed in the hardest material the child's body produced, asking nothing, answering everything. Whatever the child had lived through at 5 and again at 9, whatever difficulty had been severe enough to redirect her body's resources, she had written it into her teeth without being asked. The enamel had no interest in protecting the record. It held what happened, and it will hold it for centuries longer than any photograph will last. The global market dedicated to improving the appearance of the voluntary half of the smile, the teeth, the zygomaticus major component, operates in the tens of billions of dollars annually. Whitening agents, ceramic veneers, orthodontic alignment, implants. The product being sold in every case is an improvement to the surface that shows when the mouth moves. The bone that cannot heal. The bone the brain's social circuitry moves past in the first quarter second to look for what's happening around the eyes. Tracking studies that map eye movements during social encounters find the same result consistently. In the opening fraction of a second of perceiving a smile, the gaze moves to the periocular region, not to the teeth, past the teeth. To the question of whether the orbicularis oculi is doing anything, to the signal that cannot be whitened or aligned or implanted or replaced. The teeth register. The judgment forms somewhere else. It was October in Edinburgh, and the light through Achelis's window was the kind of low, oblique light that arrives in northern latitudes in late afternoon, the kind that gets under things. She was holding a teaching skull with no provenance attached, and she tilted it forward until the upper incisors caught the light. Enamel has a translucency at its edges in that angle, almost glassy, almost something you would call alive. She said, forensic odontology is sometimes described as the science of what endures. She meant it precisely, not as a comfort, not as a metaphor. What endures is the enamel, not the photographs, not the arrangements of expression made for cameras, not the careful management of how the mouth moves in the presence of people whose opinion matters. The enamel endures, holding the record the body kept without asking permission. The crisis at 5, the disruption at 9, the decades of slow surface loss that mark every year of use. She set the skull down, and the October light moved off it. Sometime today, you will smile at someone. If the warmth is genuine, the muscle above your cheekbone will fire without your instruction, and the person across from you will know it in the old circuitry beneath language. No cosmetic work produces this. No degree of surface improvement purchases it. And the teeth, the bone that lives outside the skin, the hardest and least repairable thing you carry, the material you have spent a lifetime performing with, will keep their own account. Not of the warmth, of the life the warmth was built on top of. Every year, every acid, every held tension worn into the surface that cannot rebuild itself. They will be the last part of you to go. They will not remember the smile. They will remember what the smile cost.